We are going to look at September 2025 predictions. So, when we look at the predictions, we have to look at Virgo season because right now we are in Virgo season. So, we have 6 points, 7 points that we're going to look at. There's a lot to go through, and I'm going to show you with some screen shares. And we have new moons, full moons, solar eclipses. We're going to finale it with the autumn equinox. And we also have the Virgo season and their traits, the ruling planet, Mercury. And also, we have to look at the opposite sign of Pisces. And so full moons, new moons, eclipses, you're going to find out what all this means and how it relates to you. Let's look at the first new moon that was on the ingress of Virgo. What does that mean? Ingress means when the sun or any planet moves into a new sign. And if you see the red arrow here with the orange and the brown is the Virgo. So on August 23rd, Eastern Time, the sun and the moon were at 0 degrees Virgo. That, by definition, is a new moon. Well, what's interesting about this new moon in Virgo is we're going to have 2 new moons in Virgo in the 30-day period, because the month started in August 23rd, and then the second new moon will be on the 21st of September, which will also be the autumn equinox, okay, a little bit later. So on the same day, at the end of the new moon, 29 degrees, we're going to roll in to 0 degrees Libra. And we'll talk more about that later. So this is what starts this very powerful season, this new moon in Virgo. But you also have to look at all the other planets and their positions. The first thing I see, besides the Virgo, now we're going to talk about the Virgo energies, but you got to see all the players that are lined up. And then we'll drill down into what is the Virgo energy and what is the sun energy and the moon energy. Well, the sun means self, and it's exerting out. It's extroverted. The moon is receiving and introverted. It's feminine. The sun is masculine. So they come together, and it's a great period to start new things, set your new intentions. What kind of intentions? Virgo type intentions, to organize your health, anything that's related to Virgo. But the big picture is what else is going on in the sky when this Virgo new moon initiated on the 23rd, because we're going to have 2 of them in this next 30-day period. That's extremely rare. So we have 1, 2, 3 quintiles, which are aspects or angles or relationships to planets to one another, which have an urgency and obsession type energy along with this new moon. Well, what kind of obsession? Well, an obsession that deals with Pluto. A lot of you know what Pluto means. It's major transformation. It could be losses and major changes, irreversible changes. And it also has to do with has to do with this energy here with Saturn and responsibilities. And then the other one has to do with Mars and Chiron, healing. So healing, health, because Virgo has to do with health as well. So whenever we talk about Pluto nowadays, automatically it's Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus together, because they're going to be holding hands for about a year now in this grand sextile type energy, which is going to reveal a lot of opportunities. Remembering that astrology is free will based, the chart does not dictate what's going to happen to you. It's the energies. When you use these energies wisely and assertively, you will manifest whatever is in your heart. And just don't play into all the, drama of social media astrology. That's not real astrology. Real astrology is when you look at the energies and you compare it to your natal chart. After careful analysis, you see what energies are impacting your natal planets, and then you can make some predictions as far as like, okay, well, it looks like this energy is in your first house or your 10th house or your house of relationships or romance. And then you say, well, I've been meaning to, date these people or go on dates. And so then you can move forward with clarity and confidence. That's what astrology is all about. And we looked at the new moon and how unique every new moon is, because these planets, these 3 planets, are going to stay in position for a year, arising with sudden and unexpected changes, the transformational changes, and then the spiritual nature, the creative nature, a little bit of confusion. And right now, Saturn is involved, which has to do with our responsibilities, our duties, wisdom, and it's a new cycle. These are all relatively new cycles, but what's going to happen because of the speed of these moving planets, Saturn is going to pass around Neptune. So it will not stay holding hands with the other 3 planets on this grand sextile because of the speed. So let's take a look at what is the energy of the Virgo. What are Virgo traits? Well, when we talk about Virgo, we have to break it down into the modalities and the elements. Those are the building blocks of signs. So Virgo is an earth sign, and earth signs are stable, they're dependable, they're slow moving, they're methodical, they're practical, they deal with everything of the earth. And specifically, Virgo deals with animals, health, food, air that we breathe, everything earthy. Also could be pets. Now, the modality of Virgo is mutable, which means that it's changeable, it loves change, and it's very adaptable. So there are other earth signs, and those are Taurus, Capricorn, and out of the 3 earth signs, Virgo is the fastest because it's ruled by Mercury. And we'll talk about Mercury in 1 second. We also put those together, and we have the mutable signs of, we have Sagittarius, which is mutable. We have Gemini, Pisces, which is opposite. We'll talk about Pisces towards the end of the video. So make sure you stay till the end, because you don't hear a lot about the opposing signs. But that's super important. If you're going to understand the Virgo, you have to understand Pisces. And all these mutable signs, the Gemini, the Pisces, and Virgo, are very adaptable. So now the next thing we're going to look at is the planet Mercury. Now, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. That's what makes it the fastest of the earth signs. And when you look at what Mercury represents, it represents data, information, exchanging of information, how we learn, how we think, how we process information. It's all about communication. And Virgo has to do with information and communication that's practical. It's not like maybe Gemini communication could be just idle curiosity. I want to know for no reason. I'm curious. And then the other planet, the other sign that has to do with information is the Virgo, but that is when we sort the information, when we analyze the information. It's practical, you see? So you get the different flavor of the Virgo. It has to make sense. It has to serve a purpose. Virgos are really, really great at very detailed work, organizing things, anything. They like a plan, and they're very methodical. They're very critical, because they want to keep changing and keep changing until it's perfect. That's why they're considered the perfectionists, because they want to keep making everything better. But sometimes they don't take action until they think it's perfect. And maybe perfection slows things down, and they never do anything because they want to make it perfect. 10 years later, I'm still working on this book, I won't publish it until it's perfect. But that's the energy that they exhibit. It's a good energy. It's a grounding energy. They're very practical as far as, okay, we're planning a trip, so let's start packing now, because they know that you have to take the necessary steps. We talked about very detail-oriented, and they are precise, very precise, and matter of fact. They also rule the 6th house, because we deal with triads when we're learning astrology, and you have the sign, the house, and the planet. Okay, those are the 3, and they go together. So the 6th house belongs to Virgo and Mercury, and that's in the natural zodiac. That's how you learn that. So the 6th house represents what we do every day, our job. It's also our habits and our diet, our routine. Virgos are very routine. Earth signs are routine oriented. Okay? So Virgos rule the health. And if you have planets in your 6th house, you take a good look and see if anything is impacting on your health. Now, don't forget the natal chart that you were born with. You co-created that chart with the Creator before you were born, when you were in the spirit form. So the chart is a good chart because it's your chart. It's just like these fingers are your fingers. These are my fingers, and all my fingers are important. I'm not going to cut any one of my fingers off because I want all my fingers. Well, the pinky one is a little shorter. The thumb is a little different, but
It's 8:30.
everything is different, and you want the whole unit. So every part of the chart, even if it's square or it's going to give you some challenges, or in this case, some obsession and urgency, where you're just like a dog with a bone, it doesn't matter. It's what it's supposed to be. However, if you know anything about astrology, you know that the planets are forever moving. And I will show you that when we go into the ephemeris. Okay? So, Virgo has to do with being detailed and crunching information, making it practical, and serving your health. Anything that has to do with health, sometimes healing. Now, we also have to look at what's opposite of the Virgo. And when we look at what's opposite of Virgo, it's always going to be Pisces. So Pisces is mutable. They like the change, but it's a water sign. And Virgo is the earth sign. Virgo has to do with our duties for ourselves and our body. And then Pisces has to do with our duties for the Creator. And this is unstructured, it's unlimited, it's limitless, and it's a little chaotic because you're in a fog and you just go with the flow. You got to let go and go with the flow. Let go, let God. Where Virgo is like, you got to do it the right way. You have to be perfect. This goes first, then this, and then that. That could be very controlling. So whenever you look at one sign, you got to look at the other sign, because let's say you are a Virgo sun. If you are a Virgo sun, then you could be exhibiting Piscean tendencies where you're a little chaotic, or you're very spiritual, or you attract the victims and you want to save everybody. So, or you could be somewhere in between. But always look at the opposite signs and the opposite houses. That's the way astrology works. So the next thing we're going to look at, we covered the Mercury and we covered the building blocks of the sign. Now let's take a look at the ephemeris, because this is a major tool that all astrologers use. Okay, you might not see everything right now in the detail, but I want you to get an idea what an ephemeris is. These are all the planets in the sky and abstract points like the North Node. South Node is always opposite, exact in degrees and minutes of the North Node, and Black Moon Lilith. And we have Chiron. At what it does by the date over here, this is September 2025, and this date all the way to the 30th, it tells you the position of the sun and the moon and the North Node all the way down. Everything is in degrees and minutes. It's very precise. But you may have not seen this before, but down on the bottom, it tells you the information about when the moon is going to change signs. Well, look, see how many, it goes through the whole zodiac in 1 month, the moon. Okay, it started in Capricorn, ends in Aquarius. The moon moves very quickly. That's why our moods and our feelings fluctuate all the time. It's the nature of the planet, okay? And it tells you what days. So every 2 to 3 days, the moon changes a sign. Now, if you want to try something very fun and very inspiring and interesting, very helpful, is to chart for the next month in September where the moon is on a regular basis throughout the month and how you feel when the moon is in Capricorn, Aquarius, all the way down, and see where that affects your natal chart, which house it is, and when it's a lunar return, like when it goes back to its original lunar sign. So if you were, let's say, a Virgo moon, then you would have felt a little stronger this Virgo moon, this last new moon, okay, and the next new moon and the full moon, because they're all in Virgo. You see? So that's a great experiment for you, and let me know in the comments if you've done it and how it worked out for you. It's very, very telling, because you then could start working with the seasons. And right now it's Virgo season and just went into Virgo, but even a week before the sun moved into Virgo, I don't know if you noticed it. Let me know in the comments, but I'm telling you what, I was so organized. Like things were really flowing as far as getting strategic activities all lined up, very clear and methodic thinking. And I've been doing this kind of work a long time, but I was paying extra attention. And I guess the new moon helped, because anytime you have a zero in astrology, it's a new beginning. And we're going to talk about the activation of the eclipses and how intense these eclipses are. And they set you up for the next 6 months, if not longer. We get eclipses twice a year, every year, but they're all different because every eclipse is different. Why? I showed you previously, because of the outer planet formation. So eclipses, we're going to talk in a minute about the eclipses, what the definition is. It's not just a new moon and a full moon. It involves the north and south nodes. And we'll describe what does the north and south node talk about. It's a very personal, Before, I remember when I started over 50 years ago studying astrology, the Western astrology I'm talking about, we didn't pay any mind to the north and south node. That was more Vedic, and it was like, it's okay if you want to work it in. But we found in the last 30 years, the Western astrologers are saying this is very, very personal. And don't forget, we've been doing a lot of studying on astrology and coming up with a better understanding of this very ancient tool that has been helping mankind from day one. So let's take a look at more information that you get from the ephemeris, and it will tell you when different planets, not the moon, because the moon will go through every single sign, but what planets are going to move and shift gears into other signs. And what that tells you is there's going to be a shift of energy, and to be mindful of it, because you want to look, oh, well, on September 2nd, we're going to have Mercury going into Virgo, which means what? that means that our communication is going to be very methodical, very detailed, very critical. You see? So let's look at how many times Mercury is going to change signs. Well, it's going to change signs mid-month in Libra. Now, if you study astrology a while, you'll see that Mercury is never too far away from the sun. It's because of their orbits. We don't need to get technical about it, but if your sun is in Virgo, then your Mercury is either one sign before it, the sign of the sun, or the sign after your sun sign. That's just the way it is by definition. So they run close neck and neck. And for the record, the sun moves 1 degree a day. That's important to understand. So in a month, the sun goes through the whole month. And then you start the next month. So we see also that Mercury has a buddy. Venus is going into Virgo. So they travel close together too. That's why these are personal planets. They move quicker and they give you more personal insights about your personality and yourself. The outer planets, which are over here, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, out because of their long cycles. They're more social trends and generational trends. What makes them personal is what house they're in and what aspects they may be making with your personal planets, for the record. Now, we also see here that Mars, which is a personal planet of action, is going into Scorpio. Well, and that's the day after the eclipse and the autumn equinox. So there's a lot of layering this month. It's very, very potent. And I'm going slowly and as Virgo-like as I could to show you precisely how entangled this Virgo energy is with the other planets besides the eclipse. Because Virgo is going to be involved with both eclipses, the lunar and the solar eclipse. And the lunar eclipse is always first, and then always 2 weeks later is the solar eclipse. One is a full moon, one is a new moon, okay? And we'll get right into that in a minute. But it also will tell you this ephemeris. This is an astrologer's Bible, okay? But, you know, in modern technology, we click on a button here and it will show what the sky looks like now in a circle for that particular day or moment, and it moves by every time the clock ticks, something's moving on this chart. So it's very dynamic. It's always moving. So then we click a button and we have the ephemeris. Now, we used to have the paper ones, and a lot of astrologers recommend that you use a paper one. I'm good with this electronic one, but they want to flip back and forth. They do research, so it might be easier. And anyhow, so we're going to go down September 22nd. This is Greenwich Mean Time, and this is Eastern Time, because you want to make sure that you're looking at your time zone. So the autumn equinox will be September 22nd, and all that is saying it's a new shift, new season, immediately after the Pisces and full moon here on the 20, actually the new moon, I misspoke. The new moon at 29 degrees Virgo, it's going to roll into the autumn equinox 0 degrees of Libra. And we'll show that right here, where you'll see 0 degrees Libra on the 23rd. But because of the time zone, it is going to be on the 22nd, late at night. Okay? Then, if you're interested in the moon phases, and you want to be interested in the moon phases, it will tell you when we have the full moon, which will be a round circle here, September 7th, and it will be the sun in Virgo 15 degrees, and the moon will be in Pisces 15 degrees. Then we have the full moon, which will be on the 21st, 29 degrees the moon and 29 degrees the sun, both in Virgo. That's the definition of the new moon. Well, let's take a peek here at the eclipse. Do you see similarities here? Yes, we have the eclipse is on the same day as the full moon, and the solar eclipse is the same day as the new moon. Oh, wait, there's two things going on at the same time. So this is what you've all been looking at, and you want to know what's going on. So we are going to take a peek now, and I will show you by definition how these eclipses work. So we're going to go to the 7th of September, and it's just a click instead of scrolling down the ephemeris, and you will see here that, get my head out of the way, that we have, you find the moon and the sun, and then to be precise, we want to move it so the hours are, it's at the exact hours. You see how fast the moon, by the hour, the moon moves quickly, and we want to get to 15 degrees Pisces for the moon. And that will be, by definition, it's exact 15 degrees sun in Virgo, 15 degrees moon in Pisces. And they're opposite. So that's a full moon. That is a time when you release, you let go. But this is an extra potent letting go for two reasons. Because we're dealing with the sign of letting go, Pisces, let go, let God, remember? And by definition, this is an eclipse right here, because we have the sun and the moon conjunct or next to the north and the south node. So these are two powerful axes. You know, they're like a ruler. So they're both very powerful. A full moon is very powerful, and the eclipse, because of the nodes involved, is very powerful. But there's one other thing that most everyone is not talking about. They're not talking about Mercury being involved in this eclipse, in the lunar eclipse. Okay? So remember, the lunar eclipse always comes first. So we need to balance and know what to let go of, and then what to keep. So we're going to let go of all this criticism wherever this is in your chart. And it's a general time to do this because it's a cycle. Everything in astrology is cycles. And in the wisdom of the creator, it's like, okay, now's the time to just let go of it, of things that don't serve you anymore. But with the eclipse, it makes it even more powerful because it's talking about things from the past. Eclipses have to do with things of the past because the south node is your past. It could even be past life if you believe in that, but it's what's familiar to you, maybe what's in your DNA, your past. And opposite is the north node, which is your journeying to the north node, which is your purpose. Why did you come here on this planet? Why did you choose those parents? Why did you choose that career? It's all laid out because that's what you wanted. It's free will. So your purpose is being looked at, which is your future. What's ahead of you? So the south node is what's behind you, and the north node is what's ahead of you. And by definition, with this eclipse, it's an emotional time. It's an intense time. You're receiving and you're putting out, you're exerting. It's masculine, it's feminine. With these eclipses, a lot of people have different opinions, but I do a lot of research and I want to give you the most accurate and well-researched information that I could give you so it makes more sense. And I've taken notes, and if you like the content in these YouTubes, you might want to check out my blogs on the website, holistichealingastrology.com. And you might like the newsletters or sign up for the newsletters, because then I will send the blogs that I post right into your inbox. If you're interested also in learning astrology, I have a wait list. You could either email me and text me or whatever, and I'll get you for the next class, which will be coming up in October, November season. Okay, so let's take a look at the lunar eclipse. Astronomically, you have the full moon, and the sun and the earth are perfectly aligned. And because of how far away we are from the sun and how big the moon is, we could have an eclipse. If we were anywhere else in the solar system, we would not see an eclipse. But I'm sure there might be other systems where it is like that, because the galaxies, it's so profoundly huge and ever expanding, and they've proven now that the universe is growing. It's expanding. So everything is growing, it seems. When you look at nature, you get an idea. You ever see these vacant lots? What happens when no one's taking care of the lot? The grass will come through the asphalt. Everything gets overgrown, and nature will take over. And if you leave it long enough, you'll never know that there was anything man-made there. It's crazy. So we could try to manipulate and control our environment, but nature has a way of just growing and growing and growing. So it's when this lunar eclipse is when the earth comes between the sun and the moon. Okay, just so you know. Now the meaning, the astrological meaning, is a dramatic letting go. Now, this is where it gets intense, because if you don't let go, then you're going to feel the ramifications of not letting go. And there's all kinds of examples I could give you, but it's staying with that toxic relationship, having bad health habits, whether it's too much drinking or too much sugar or not enough exercise, things that are not really good for you. The list goes on and on and on. But it's a letting go. And it's clearing of the old cycles, because you want to get ready for the upcoming new moon. And the new moon is for new beginnings. All right. So it's kind of natural. You clear out, the field in farming, and to get it ready for the next year's crops. All right. So you have to clear it out, let it go. Now, any questions, always put them in the comments. I read each and every one of them, and I do respond either with another video or comments. Okay. And you could always text me, and I'm more than happy to help out. And I put some very short TikTok content on there, and then I upload it on the YouTube channel, because a lot of people don't do TikTok, but a lot of people are jumping on, and it's a nice way to expose people to astrology. So it's a letting go of these patterns that don't serve you anymore, habits. And remember, we said what? Twice a year this happens. So if you miss the boat this year, you got next year, as long as we're still around, because we don't know if we have tomorrow. Nobody knows that. That's important. But did you know that the chart lives on? So, the chart lives on until you come back again, I guess. Then you have a new chart. So, that's the meaning. It's very intensely emotional, because you're dealing with the moon, all right? And it has to do with feelings. The moon has to do with feelings and moods and motivation. So there's good emotions and there's bad emotions. Well, like happy, or really sad, blue, anxious, upset, angry emotions, all different kinds. So it's also brings suppressed feelings and memories to light. So things that are hidden may be revealed. It's a great time to do some shadow work. Another indicator of shadow work is Black Moon Lilith. That is a shadowy part of your astrological chart. It's another topic, another video. So this is when the past could come to light again. Like people from the past could just show up. New romances from the past, or rekindled romances, right? So all kinds of things can come up. It's basically endings and beginnings. It's dramatic, and it's often sudden endings. It's a closure to a cycle or a chapter in your life. Well, some people don't want it to end, but if it's got to end, it's got to end. And that's where that intensity comes from. And I was kind of scrolling through TikTok, social media, because I'm on there too, and I just searched to see what people are saying about September. And some of it is good, some of it is vague. Most of it is vague because, what are you going to say in 1 minute or 15 seconds or two minutes? you can't get much done. Astrology is way too complicated to condense all this information into 1 minute or even 10 minutes. And that's why when you go on the very seasoned astrologers, teachers, and authors of astrology, they'll talk for an hour, 2 hours, because they're thorough. And they wouldn't be professional if they weren't thorough. And they'll tell you, we're going to do another video on the rest of the story. So I'm trying to cram it all in here to show you that astrology is not just looking at one part, my sun sign. It's a whole bunch of stuff going on at the same time. And what's important too is that some energies counteract other energies. So they could soften the blow, or they can make the blow a little more intense. And that's why Saturn, Pluto, and Mars get a bad rap, because they could intensify things. But sometimes, that's a good swift kick in the you-know-what to get you going, to get you out of that abusive relationship that really doesn't serve you. Are you going to spend your whole life in a situation because you're fear-driven, or you feel you're not good enough because you've been so beaten down, or you feel like you're a victim? Okay? So I hope you have a good understanding now of the energies and why when we say, oh, it's going to be an intense eclipse. Yes, it's because we're dealing with either your past life or what's familiar to you from your past, and it comes up again. And if it really doesn't make a lot of sense to you and you are open to past life existence, you might want to dig deep into that and see. But your soul will tell you. This astrology chart was created for the soul, partially by your soul, because the soul is part of God. And it's to help you move from here, the south node, to the north node, because that's what it's all about for this chart. Okay? So it's also revelations, and these are buried truths that may be revealed, secrets and insights that were hidden and suppressed. It's a spiritual and emotional release. So especially that's heightened because Pisces is very spiritual. And this has to do with our health. So this is our physical health, and this is our spiritual well-being and health. This is your well-being physically, and this is your well-being spiritually and connecting to your Creator. It's very transformative. And if you try to, I don't want to look at it this time around, it could bite, So that's the lunar eclipse. And you can manage the lunar eclipse by doing breathing, meditation, connecting to God, journaling. You could pick up a copy of my Guided by God journal that's on my website. You just click and you'll get a copy. It's not real expensive. It's very affordable. Now we're going to talk about the solar eclipse. So what did we say? The solar eclipse was 2 weeks after the lunar eclipse. So we're going to click here. 1, 2. So now we're on the 21st. And sure enough, the sun and the moon are, it's 1 degree off. We could fix it maybe 1 hour, and that will make it okay, there we go. Now it's perfect because we are in the perfect ruling Virgo sign. And look at the lineup here. We have the solar eclipse, which is a new moon, flanked with, again, Mercury, but Mercury is going to be in Libra, but they're very close together, all right? And then later on that day, in a few hours, the sun is going to move into Libra, and that will be the autumn equinox that I talked about in the ephemeris. So you'll see here too that the north and south node are in close proximity to the new moon. And so we have like a stellium, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 planets or abstract points in a 30-degree range. So that's powerful in itself. Besides the eclipse, we got to look at what else is going on in the sky, all right? And then we also have, I want to see, yeah. So there's also this flow of energy going to that Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto energy, because this is a domino effect. So it's going to be very, very, very intense because we're dealing with major changes that the new moon is going to bring about. It's a definite new beginning, huge transformational new beginning. And I'm getting goosebumps. So whenever I get these strong body washes or goosebumps, that's spirit affirming. Now, prediction-wise, use the energies to create the life that you want. Use these energies. The focus is on your daily life, your routine, your job, your health, and being practical with the information that you consume. And what are you going to do with this information? And then that spirituality component. You see, this new moon is opposite Neptune. Besides the flow of energy going to the planet of sudden and unexpected changes and revolution and freedom and visions and enlightenment. And then also that flow to transformational, irreversible changes, definitely letting go, because the universe made you let go. It's losses. It's just an overhaul, evolutionary type change in our whole world, in humanity. Okay? So we're dealing with communication, humanity, and self. And if that's not enough, we have retrogrades. 1, 2, 3, 4 retrogrades. Nobody's talking about that with the eclipse because they're not real astrologers on social media that are going to look at the whole picture. So the retrogrades give a different flavor on the planets. That means that they're slower and less confident. And that means to go inward and to be more spiritual. Okay? So remember, when we say that it's Virgo, we always have to look at what's opposite of Virgo, and that would be Pisces. All right? Pisces is very spiritual. It's about imagination, fantasy. God could perform those miracles. That kind of energy. Fairy dust. Things that we can't prove. Mystical. And very, very potent time in our history, the history of humanity. And we plan to live here and to witness this and to be part of it. We're all part of it. So what is your role in all this? Take a look and compare this to your natal chart. And if you need my help, get in touch with me. We could do a reading together. However, let's go back to the solar eclipse definition. So that's when they are usually in the same sign and within 10 degrees of one another. Okay, that by definition is a solar eclipse. But we saw that on the ephemeris and it was laid out. I'm showing you visually how it would be on an astrology chart. Okay, now the time, this is a very powerful time because it's a new beginning. It's supercharged new moon because it has to do with your purpose and what you're going to let go of, where you came from and where you're going, your past, your future, just like we talked about before with the other eclipse, with the lunar eclipse. So it brings about an intense energy burst. So it's like you get, a double espresso latte, frappuccino, extra sugar. There's about a cup of sugar in those drinks. I don't know how people drink them, but you're going to get a boost of energy. So pay attention and see how you feel it and put it in the comments below. It acts as a prompt for an extreme change. So it's to help you move in a direction for your future, to take the plunge and to be courageous. It's a new beginning. And this 29 means a lot. And I'll get to that in a moment. But we have to see, this is just a normal definition of a solar eclipse. It's inevitably generating new opportunities for change, such as revisions, reorganization, reconstruction, overhaul, reordering, revolutionizing, mutations, remodeling, and it's remembering free will overshadows your destiny, because a lot of people say, oh, this is fate. Free will always overrides fate. What is fate is these planets. We can't override the planets, but how we use the energy is your free will. So the planets never dictate what's going to happen to you. It's how you respond to the planets. And moon is very reactive. Couple that together with the north and south node, you're going to do something about it. Something's going to happen. But what happens is totally up to you. But with this other outer planet lineup, you can't ignore this stuff. And, it's 10 degrees. The node is in the same sign as Saturn here as well. So check and see what's happening in your chart, and you will really feel it. Trust me when I tell you. So the solar eclipse is the new moon, the axis is, and it's a catalyst for change. It's a new season, a new beginning, especially with relationships. So, we might find ourselves in new relationships, jobs, in new careers, new romance, family additions. My daughter's a Virgo, and it's her birthday, and she's having an engagement party. But at the same time last year, she did get engaged. And so it's, and they bought a house and things like that. So it works. If you pay attention and you look at the analysis, you'll see it works every time. What doesn't work is if you don't have the right keywords and you're not placing things together. That takes some time. to do all that, to be a master. It's also a time when you could have babies and weddings and a new home. So it's interesting. There's cycles. So it's a new beginning, and it forces us to fresh start, a new cycle, new life, new chapter. It's exciting, new possibilities. It could be surprising. So cheer up. This is a good time. All right. Make it a good time. Use your free will. It's personal and collective change. It can trigger a major shift to individuals and the entire world. Okay? So it's revealing what you need to let go of, especially these situations. So, the lunar eclipse is always first. So what did I say before? You let go of everything, so it's all nice and clean slate, and now you could start something new. They work together. The North Node, the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, they work in pairs. And the full moon is working with the pair, the luminaries, we call them, the sun and the moon. So that is my take on the eclipse. And we have a little bit more that we're going to talk about. And we talked about the emphasis of always looking at the opposite signs. So the focus is, when we're focusing on Virgo, we have to focus on Pisces. So we said a little bit about Virgo. I'm going to give you some key words of Virgo, the sign of Virgo, and then I'll give you a few on the Pisces, and then we'll show you the spring equinox. I'm sorry, the autumn equinox. That will be a whole new season, and every time the sun goes into a new sign, it's a new season. So there's a lot of new going on the 21st of September with this equinox coming, a few hours later. You could see here, it will shift, and you could see all the planets are moving, and that's what happens in the sky. And when it goes up to 59, there it is. So in the afternoon, because we're in Eastern time, on the 22nd, it will go into Libra. Okay? So now, keywords for Virgo, it's the maiden, and this was an independent woman. That's where it came from. They're organic, it's natural, and key phrases are I perfect, I serve, and I analyze. That's what Virgos love to do. They need to be useful as well because they love to serve. They need to discriminate. They love helping others improve. Okay? Always perfecting, getting it done. Anything of the earth. Self-improving. Eye appeal is very important, and likes to be busy mentally, always researching and checking data. So they're adaptable. They could be into agriculture, animals. They're very careful. They could be into crystals because that's of the earth. They're discerning. They could be fussy. They're flexible. They like to evaluate. They're helpful. They deal with help. They're healers. They could be modest and meticulous, useful. They could get into rituals. They love the rituals. Organizing, overwork, and orderly. They could be writers, workaholics. So that's a little bit, and if you want these keywords in your inbox as a PDF. You could find the Astrologer's Time Saver. It's nothing but a bunch of cheat sheets, and the whole book is full of cheat sheets with explanations. And then Pisces, just a little snapshot of the Pisces. And where'd you go? There it is. They like to have solitude. Okay. I didn't mention that before, but they believe. So they believe, they have faith because they believe. And Dr. Bruce Lipton wrote a great book called The Biology of Belief. He's a cell biologist. So what you believe is what's going to happen. You want to create your future, you just have to believe in what you want to do. But most of us, it needs a lot of affirmations, a lot of self-talk, could be a lot of therapy or whatever, but a lot of work to get to that belief. And certainty will come from belief. As soon as you believe it, it's going to happen. It's like a hit of a switch. Boom, there it is. So they live in fantasy. They can live in fantasy. They do like their sleep in isolation, their privacy. They might like to swim, but they're very artistic, great imagination, very psychic. All water signs are pretty psychic, but they're limitless. It's limitless. Also could be very tuned into the victim. Excuse me. And so Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac, and that's why it kind of fades out into like the ether and it just like disappears, because now you're in the fog, you're in that chaotic world, you're in the dream state, in the sleep state, and it rules hypnosis. I hope that you enjoyed this very, very long video. I wanted to get it in one sitting. It is exhausting sometimes, but you need to understand that there's so many energies going on at once. If anything gets me crazy, it's like when they say, oh, it's Mercury retrograde. No, there are 4 planets that are retrograde. And I want to give you some key words on retrogrades and what my research has shown. Okay, 1 second. So you see here that we have Uranus, Chiron, Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto retrograde. So that means in general, retrogrades, they manifest urges of Pisces principles. They kind of like slow everything down, all right? And it's a time when you want to reflect, and you repress, review, rewind. You go internally, you meditate, you talk to the creator. Otherwise, you might repeat it. It's a good time to take a vacation and just be very subdued. It's also when that particular energy is slowed down, and that's why it's good to go inward. Everything kind of goes in slow motion, but the energy is less confident. All right. So if you're born with a lot of retrogrades, and I just had a reading with a client, very unique individual. You know how we had that Elon Musk and all these great creators, they're just geniuses and stuff like that. They're just very laser focused to do a mission. Well, this young lady had very similar qualities that she will get it done, but she had many planets retrograde. So retrograde also, because of the slow motion, and slow on the uptake, I call it. They could be late bloomers. Okay. So with this, it also could mean unfinished business. All right. When you have Pluto with unfinished business, all these energies, it might be having to serve unfinished business in your life. Okay. It could mean that. It's internal development. So when we have all these retrogrades with this eclipse season, definite changes, definite ways to change. So if you want to be more specific with Pluto, these transformational changes could be internal, and it could be for humanity because it's Aquarius, but it could be also on the scientific front or futuristic front. Same thing with Neptune. You see how it's 0 degrees in Aries, so that's a new beginning for self. Self-spirituality. A lot of people are going to be prone to a new path of spirituality, and we're elevating to that, and that brings us to this Uranus, which is an awakening, and that started at 0 degrees, but it's an awakening on information and data. It could also be AI and a bunch of other things. So you put that all together and you see, how is that going to affect you in your spirituality, in your life, in the way that you think, in your relationships. Okay? So we have covered it all. We have looked at all the different points of September, a very, very busy September. School starts in September, but there's going to be releasing. So we're definitely hanging on to that Virgo Pisces energy. Now you'll understand when you hear Virgo, you're going to think about Pisces. You just have to do it, because I hope you learned something from this video. If you have any questions or comments, put them below. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. It helps spread the word to other people that might be interested in this type of material. And if you don't want to miss another video, I usually put them out at least once a month on the long ones, and then I upload the TikTok versions.
It's 9:30.
And put out another maybe shorter video, but this was a very long one, and I apologize. But until next time, all my love, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.